They believed they were strong by themselves, that they only depended on themselves, that no one was needed, that carrying everything was a duty, a sign of strength, until they realized, no, felt, that this strength wasn't enough, that it couldn't hold what needed to be held. Then came the shock, the harsh and raw recognition. Alone, it's nothing but an illusion of power. True strength, the kind that moves and transforms, is born when you allow someone in, when you accept the burden can be shared. It's not weakness. It's a courage that only exists when you admit you're not invincible, when you recognize that together, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Have you noticed this? Or do you still cling to the false idea that everything must be shouldered alone? If you felt this, comment, "I needed to hear this." They thought they were strong alone, not out of empty arrogance or reckless rebellion. It made sense at that moment, carrying the weight of the world as if it were solely theirs, as if sharing the burden would weaken them. But within that silence, beneath that solitary effort, something was beginning to wear thin. The strength that once seemed unbreakable, built from refusal and distance, was showing its first cracks. There was no denying it anymore. Loneliness was a slow and invisible erosion. Have you ever felt this? The feeling that, no matter how much you impose that wall, it's never as strong as the need that cries out from within? It's a struggle against yourself, a resistance to the natural order. The refusal to see that true strength isn't what stays closed off, but what opens up. But what does it mean to open up? Isn't it risking your own security? Isn't it exposing your weaknesses? That's exactly how it seems. The world has always taught us to hide our fragility, to not show the side that hurts, that trembles, that fears. But that mask begins to weigh heavily. Isolated strength becomes a prison when someone, or something, appears and makes this realization clear. The shock is inevitable. It's not a gentle flicker, it's a rupture. You then realize that the strength you thought was immense is, in fact, just a desperate defense against your own vulnerability. This realization doesn't come quietly. It's an internal thunder, an abrupt shift that shakes everything you believed up to that point. The loneliness that sustained the false strength cannot withstand the impact of this acknowledgement. And then, something changes. Allowing another in is not giving up control. It's expanding your capacity to bear the weight that once crushed you. It's admitting that strength is not measured in isolation, but in connection. And this connection is not simple. It's not just about being close, it's allowing the other person to see what you didn't want to show. It's letting the burden be shared, the fear be divided, the pain be felt together. When this happens, the perception of strength changes radically. It transforms, expands, multiplies. Do you feel that? What was a burden becomes support. What was fear transforms into courage born from connection. But not everyone accepts this transformation, because it requires letting go, releasing what was believed to be the only way to stay upright. Do you still hold on to that idea? That strength is solitary, that the path must be walked alone. If you've realized that it's not, that this perception is a profound truth, share with me. I needed to hear this. It's not about losing, it's about gaining. About recognizing that the strength that truly matters only arises when you stop carrying the world alone. And when the strength that comes from connection is revealed, everything shifts. What was small becomes immense. What seemed heavy becomes light. This realization is slow for some, instantaneous for others, but it leaves marks that no one sees, and that you feel in the silence of your chest. Have you felt that weight? Have you felt the resistance and then the surrender? Loneliness is a silent trap that consumes. Have you noticed? It doesn't explode, doesn't scream, doesn't leave visible traces. It just drains you. Gradually, the defenses that once seemed unbreakable give way, not because the world knocks them down, but because the internal weight becomes unbearable. This exhaustion is invisible to many, even to yourself, because when you believe that being strong means not asking for help, not showing flaws, you forget that the body, mind, and soul have limits that don't respect will or pride. And when that line is crossed, perception changes, not gradually but abruptly, like a flash of light in the darkness. You realize that loneliness was never true strength, that real strength is something else, something that reveals itself in touch, in words, in shared silence. This strength that arises from connection is untamable. It isn't measured in muscles, in isolated achievements, or empty overcoming speeches. It is felt. It's perceived in the gaze that understands without judgment, in the embrace that doesn't require explanation. But there is still resistance, an inner voice that whispers that opening up is losing, that sharing is weakness, and that voice echoes deep within your chest, provoking a silent war. You know this war exists. You've been in it. But here's the paradox. To find this greater strength, you must cross this war. You must let the other in, even when fear screams to back away. When that happens, everything changes. Perception widens, and you see yourself differently. More whole, lighter, more alive. The strength that was once effort is now presence. And this presence does not wear out, does not deplete. Do you see this? Do you realize what this change means? If this has happened to you, comment, "I needed to hear this." But this transformation is not a destination. It's a continuous process, a journey where each step requires renewed courage. Do you feel this now as you read? That sense that something greater is waiting to be recognized? That the journey is long but doesn't have to be lonely. Don't let the old idea of strength hold you back. Don't accept that isolation is synonymous with power. Because the truth that nobody says out loud is this: true strength reveals itself in the recognition of others, in realizing that together we are more than just the sum of our parts. Have you ever felt this truth, even if only in fragments? Share it with me. If this message resonates with you, write a word that defines you right now. But don't be mistaken. It's not about losing yourself in another. It's about finding yourself amidst the encounter. And this is a discovery that transforms everything. Are you ready to head in this direction? You are here reading, and something is pulsing inside. It's not just any fleeting thought. It's a deep unease that stirs what you know about yourself. This unease has a name. It is the realization that the strength supporting you is no longer where you used to seek it. Have you felt that emptiness? That sensation that, no matter how hard you try, something essential slips away, something you can't carry alone. It's as if with each attempt to prove yourself, your internal resistance weakens, like the ground beneath your feet is slowly giving way. And it is on this unstable ground that true perception is born. Realizing that what held you up was not your strength, but your refusal to admit you need support. This realization is tough, because it strips bare what you wanted to hide, because it dismantles what you called power. But it is also liberating, because it invites you to something greater. It's not about giving up on yourself, it's about expanding what you call I. Have you noticed this? That you don't have to carry everything alone to be strong. If you have, comment, "I needed to hear this." What's at stake here is the most intimate truth. Real strength never reveals itself in isolation. It manifests when you allow yourself to be seen, when you allow yourself to fail, when you allow yourself to be supported. And then together, you create something that would never be possible alone. Do you feel this truth? Does it resonate with something inside you? Resistance will try to pull you back. It will insist that opening up is a weakness, but you know that isn't true. You know that the greatest courage is admitting your own need. This courage is a step that few take because it means leaving behind old certainties. But the reward is immense. More than strength, you gain presence. More than resistance, you gain connection. And this connection is what truly sustains. If this idea has touched you, share a word that defines you right now. But don't rush to understand everything. This perception is a slow dance, a process that unfolds in its own time. Have you started to notice this? Do you feel the silent movement of this seed within you, don't you? It's not a dramatic change, but a subtle revolution that grows in the shadows of the mind, where the soul refuses to hide any longer. This movement is the awakening of perception, the real seeing that goes beyond what the eyes can reach. It's not just about accepting help, but recognizing the deep value of connection. It's realizing that solitude, as much as it has been a refuge, is also a prison. You may have even built walls around yourself, believing they were your shield, your fortress, but walls do not support. Walls isolate, and realizing this, breaking through those walls, becomes an act of courage that redefines everything. True strength isn't in how much you can carry, but in how much you can let go to receive. Have you allowed yourself that surrender? If so, comment, "I needed to hear this." It's not simple, I know. This surrender requires facing old fears, painful truths, shadows that insist on remaining. But the moment you decide to open up, even just a little, something inside you eases. The weight that once crushed you transforms into a bridge that connects what was separated. And this connection brings something that isolation could never offer: the expansion of being. Have you ever noticed how, when you're open, the world seems different? Not because it has changed, but because you have changed the way you perceive the world. And this shift in perception is what truly transforms. It's what pulls you out of the prison of loneliness and places you in the freedom of connection. This freedom comes at a cost, the cost of surrender, but it's a price worth paying. Do you feel this need now? If you do, share with me. I am ready for this transformation. This transformation that pulses within you is not a whim of the mind, nor a passing desire. It's something that grows in the silence of your soul, where truth reveals itself without words. Don't wait for grand signs, don't look for external proof. True perception is subtle, almost imperceptible. It's a different way of looking at the same place, a breath that changes the rhythm of your being. You realize that carrying everything alone no longer makes sense. That isolated strength is a depleted concept, an idea that no longer sustains you. And it's in that moment of silent clarity that the invitation appears. The invitation to shed the old armor and accept vulnerability as strength. Do you feel this calling? It may be frightening because it challenges everything that has been built, but it can also free you because it opens the possibility of being more whole, more real. Have you noticed this duality? If so, comment, "I recognize this struggle." It's not about surrendering. It's about recognizing that the struggle doesn't have to be solitary, that there is a greater strength that arises from connection, from sharing, from allowing yourself to be seen. This strength is made of courage and surrender. It is difficult, but it is true. Do you feel you are faced with this choice? If you do, right here. I choose this strength, but don't rush. This decision is a journey, not a moment, and it happens at the pace your being allows. You stand on the threshold, not of a destination, but of a passage. It's not a full stop, but a portal, a space between what has already been and what can still be perceived. In this threshold, everything is fluid, nothing is definitive. The solitary strength that once seemed unbeatable now reveals itself as a faint shadow, a fragile reflection against the vastness of what can be born from connection. And you notice, in a way that is almost unsettling, that this realization is both liberating and challenging. Because freeing oneself from isolation doesn't just mean shedding the weight, but accepting the unknown that comes along with it. The other, the surrender, the vulnerability, all of this is uncharted territory, where strength manifests differently. Do you feel the call of this territory? It may evoke fear, discomfort, insecurity, but it can also bring the peace that arises when the weight is no longer carried alone. Have you ever experienced this peace? If so, comment, "I found this peace." What's at stake is more than strength. It's the intimate truth that being strong doesn't mean never falling, but knowing how to rise with help. That real strength is not the absence of pain, but a conscious presence even in pain. This awareness is a waking up. And waking up is, above all, perceiving. Perceiving what is hidden, what has been denied, what insists on remaining in the shadows. Are you ready for this awakening? If so, write, "I am awakening." But know that this journey doesn't end here. It extends deep and infinite. You're in the midst of something bigger than you can imagine. This strength that emerges from connection, from surrender, from realizing that you are not alone. It transforms. It transforms what seemed unchangeable. The pain, the fear, the resistance. Everything takes on another weight, another dimension, and it's exactly here that I want to extend an invitation. If this message struck a chord with you, if it made you realize something that was hidden, take a simple yet powerful action. Share it. Share it with someone who needs to hear this, because transformation comes not just from understanding, but from spreading. And if you want to continue this journey with me, sign up. Here we don't seek ready-made formulas or easy answers. Here we seek what is real, what resonates, what truly transforms. Don't forget to comment as well. Tell me, what did this perception mean to you? Have you ever gone through something similar? Write in the comments. Your voice matters. And if this message resonated with you, leave a like. This simple act helps to bring this message to more people who need to realize what you are already beginning to understand. This conversation doesn't end here. It is only just beginning. If you want to follow along with me, keep tuning in, because the next step is even deeper, and I want you with me on this journey. Until then.